Hello, friends, and welcome to today's session on Linux Administration Part 1. Do you know that you would see tremendous growth if you have strong competence in Linux operating system, network administration, and troubleshooting? If you want to know more about Linux, watch this video till the end. Now, before we head on to our today's agenda, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. So, first, we will study about Linux installation introduction. Moving ahead, we will discuss about virtual machines and bare metal installation comparison. Then we will study about Linux installation types. Moving ahead, we will discuss about hands-on on lab for Linux installation. And then we will study about hands-on on lab for automated installation.
Hello everyone, welcome to this session on automated Linux installation and initialization. Prior to this, and every time we have done it over the VirtualBox or hardware itself using ISOs or DVDs which are downloaded from the CentOS 7 or Red Hat website. So using that, you have gone through various steps and that you had to configure manually. Like you had to set up the partition, you had to set up the networking, you had to select which packages to install, and then you have installed the entire thing. So today we'll try out something very interesting and very different, and that would help you to install multiple systems simultaneously, because that would be automated completely. You don't have to do anything in between to get the systems installed, and apart from that, it would be completely effortless. So how to do that, and how we can make the installation of Linux completely automated. So that is the thing we are going to focus on today. So the agenda would be just to discuss briefly on the Linux installation, and then we'll move on to understand, or in fact recap, what virtual machines and bare metal installations are, and then we will go through various installation types in Linux, and then would be the most interesting part, that is setting up a hands-on lab where we would create a ISO DVD ISO for CentOS 7 that would be having a kickstart file. Kickstart file is an answer file where you have all the configuration options you want to do set in, so that when you run that ISO, the kickstart file would direct the installation, so you would not be asked with any questions on the installation. It would be completely effortless and fully automatic. So let's first discuss what Linux operating system installation is all about. You have done it in the past. What we do is we say we want to install CentOS 7. So we have to go through a series of steps. The first one being downloading the DVD ISO from the website of CentOS, and then we burn it in the disk, and then we insert the disk in the CD-ROM or DVD-ROM, whatever, and start the installation wizard. And then we follow the various steps of the wizard and get the thing installed. So, and definitely we would be using the virtual box in order to get the stuff installed, and then we will also do the automation part. So in order to install, what you did earlier was create a virtual machine like this one, and then we name it, and then we create the hard disk, and then we insert the CD-ROM ISO, and then we install the entire system. So what are the steps we encounter while doing this? So here the basic three steps are downloading the media, which is not a problem. You can just Google for CentOS 7 ISO download, and then you would be provided with links, and you can download it from the official site. And then we boot the media, and then we start the installation wizard. The installation wizard takes us to this page, which you can see here as the screenshot, where we choose the language options. So this is something we need to do manually. Then we click on continue. That is also manual. And why I'm emphasizing the manual things is because we are going to automate all these steps. You don't have to click or do anything. You just watch the installation getting done. So that's why we need to recap the various steps, and so that we can create an answer file which will automate the entire process. So then this is the first step. Then what we do, we are asked whether we have to select the date and time, the keyboard kind of keyboard, like we select English US normally as a default, and localization, which time zone we are lying in. Then we select the kind of partition we want to make, and then of course the host name and the network name. So these are the various options, and here is the partition option. If you want to go for some custom partition, then you can choose the disk and then create those partitions here. So all this was manual as we did in the past. This is setting the date and time, and then of course you need to set root password as well as create a user if you want. Well, this is optional, and then the system is installed. Now in case of automated install, what we are going to do is it's pretty simple. We are going to take a normal CentOS ISO, extract everything out of it, and then we need to create a kickstart file with all the directions on what to do when we want to create the install, and then repackage the ISO into our custom ISO file. Now this ISO along with the kickstart file will have all the options and ingredients to install this CentOS 7 operating system completely automatically. So that is what we are going to do. For this lab, what I have done is I have created a Linux system, CentOS, so you can do that as well. And on that system, simple Linux system, nothing else inside it. And then inside it, I have mounted this CentOS 7 DVD. So you can download a DVD from where you install CentOS 7, or if you are doing in a normal system like a hardware system, then you have a CentOS 7 system and you put a CentOS 7 DVD on the tray. So that's it. So here I have selected a CentOS 7 ISO image in the VirtualBox manager, and I have run this VirtualBox. Now let us we have also logged into that VirtualBox system using SSH, so that we can copy paste commands as well. So here, first step you have to do is mount that ISO which we have inserted in the VirtualBox manager. So we have to mount it into this operating system so that we can access the files, copy them, and do our operation. So first step, what I need to explain you here is I'll go through the steps, and you can even note down the commands what I'm running, so that while trying it yourself you can do it similarly, or else you can do it along with this video, pausing it as and when it is required. So all these commands which I run are very important. First of all, you have to mount the CD-ROM which you have inserted in the VirtualBox if you are using VirtualBox, or in case you are using a normal system, the same command applies. So we'll mount it into the /mnt directory, which is the default directory for mounts. So it's mounted perfectly fine, so no problem here. So if we enter the /mnt directory now, we can see all the files and folders which are associated with the CentOS 7 DVD. So all these folders were inside the CentOS 7 DVD. This contains various packages like repo data, which contains all the databases for the packages present inside this DVD, and the packages directory contains all the RPMs. Live OS, this contains the live CD ingredients. ISO Linux contains the kernel image, and there are various other images here as well, and other files with the licensing stuff and things like that. So we have the entire thing mounted in our system, the CentOS DVD ingredients. Now what we have to do in order to customize this, first step you need to do is copy all things from here to a separate directory. So that is pretty simple. I have already copied it. What I have done is I have run this command cp hyphen, you can put AR so that all will be copied including hidden files and folders, and recursively, and then you can copy everything from /mnt into any other location you want. W, and in this case I have copied it into this directory in order to save time. Okay, so you can run this command so that it would be copied into a separate directory. You can copy it into the temp directory as well. So once done, so beforehand I had created this directory CentOS 7 underscore disk and var www.html. So I have copied the entire ingredients of /mnt into this directory. Okay, so now if you press enter, this would be copied, but you have to create this directory prehand. So this command is done, and now if we enter into this directory var www.html and then the CentOS 7, you can see that the entire things which were present in the DVD are now copied into this. Okay, so that part is done, the first part. Now we have all the ingredients of the DVD here. So now we are safe to unmount the DVD. We don't need it anymore. So for unmount, you can do the umount command and then the mount point name. So that was MNT. So the DVD is safely unmounted. And now we don't need anything from that because we have all the contents of the DVD here in this folder var www.html CentOS 7 underscore disk. So now let's create the kickstart file which will contain all the configuration options for automating the install. So that is the first step. So for that we can use a template of the kickstart file which is always present in the /root directory. So if you go to /root and do a ls hyphen LA, so here you can see something called the anaconda ks.cfg. What is this? This file is a answer file for the installation. So that is created when any system is installed, any CentOS or Red Hat system is installed. So here we get a template which we can use as the ks file. So everything that is installed is in here. So what are the options in here? Let's have a look. First of all, it enables the shadow, like everything password will be encrypted and saved in the shadow file. Then we use the CD-ROM as the installation source. Sometimes the installation source can be network or PXE, so that the installation occurs from somewhere external. So in those cases the CD-ROM is not written. There is an option called URI where the URL is given. So that is it. Then the first boot enable and then ignore disk. These are various options whether the setup agent would be run on first boot or not. Then we have the keyboard layouts which like we set some time ago, where we had the set up the language options. And then we have the network and the network option setup. So here we are using DHCP to set up the network, the device interface name, and if we want to use IPv6 or not. So all these options are given here. Apart from that, root password, if you want to set, everything is present here, the time zone, the bootloader options, and stuff like that. So what you can do is you can directly copy this file anaconda ks.cfg into the folder where you have kept everything. So in our case it is this, and you can name it something else as well, like in my case I have named it ks.cfg. So ks here stands for kickstart. So kickstart.cfg means the configuration options for kickstart. So now let's get back to that folder and check the ks.cfg file. So what do? You copy the anaconda ks.cfg and rename it into ks.cfg file, and you just make a few changes like I have done. I have removed most of the options under packages so that the installation is just minimal. So I have just kept the core. You can add other packages as well if you want to install them automatically. And apart from that, I have removed all the unnecessary options and just kept the options which we need. And on the first line I have added this directive called install, so that this cd will install whatever it is asked to. And sometimes people write upgrade, so that cd becomes a upgrade cd or dvd, which will upgrade the system automatically. So now you can pause the video and note down the options in this file. So your of course your system would be created accordingly. Only thing I would like to tell is, if you prefer to copy the entire thing, this including this root password directive, please remember that this password is encrypted, and root password for this system, in case you are directly copy pasting the entire thing, is red hat. So this encrypted password, this entire thing actually comes down to red hat. Similarly, I have a user called Tom who is also having a password called red hat. Okay, so this user Tom belongs to the wheel group, that is the admin group. So these are the two customizations I have made for this system. So if you prefer to copy paste this entire thing, then you have to use the password red hat for your root user, otherwise you won't be able to log in, and rest of the things should be fine. So this is our entire kickstart file. So once the kickstart file is created and in place, you can see the kickstart file is now here. So with all the other contents, we have placed the kickstart file. Now this is not enough. The next thing we have to do is we have to make changes in the boot menu. Like when the CD will boot, you can have an option of adding a new menu where you can mention the installation is automated. Okay, yeah, once we do the demo, you can see where that option is. Now the second change I have to do is I have to go to this ISO Linux directory inside this disk contents, and there is this file called isolinux.cfg. So when I enter this file and go a bit downwards, when you scroll downwards, you can see these entries like label Linux and label check in your ISO Linux file. Okay, what you have to do to make things simple is just copy this entire label Linux paragraph and paste it somewhere below or above it. In our case, we have pasted it here. Now you can label it as custom and put a label Linux automatic, like we are going to do the automatic installation. This one remains same. We can name something here, like I have named this as a platform, and then this line remains same, kernel VM Linux. Now this line is important. You have to change the options which are given here. You have to replace them with this. So what we are doing here, we are writing append initRD.img, same as this. But here installation stage 2 is kicking in from the hard disk and from so and so label. So we don't want to do that. Here what we have written is ks is equal to cd-rom colon slash and then case.cfg. Here what we are doing, we are pointing the installer to the kickstart file inside the cd-rom because we have placed it in the root, so we give this the path for the root. Okay, so now what will happen if we choose this label like install CentOS automatically, then it will take us, it will load the kernel image, initRD image, and then it will load the directives from this case.cfg file and start the kickstart installation. So this is what we have to do here. You can pause the video again and note this paragraph and append it to your file, isolinux.cfg file. So this is the second step. And then once this is done, the third step would be to create the repository if you add any custom packages. So for that we have a few steps. Now I have also listed out the steps here in the notepad. Like these are the steps for ISO creation for Kickstart. I would be also sharing these steps with you, but anyways, if you can find them in the video as well, like we did all these steps. We went into the mnt directory, we mounted the ISO into mnt, and then we copied everything into this directory, and then we unmounted it, and then we provided permissions. If required, you have to give this permission to the directory if you face some errors, otherwise not required. And then we copied the anaconda into case.cfg, and then now we are here. This step also has been covered, like we have made changes to the isolinux.cfg. Now we have to do this step. So what is this step? This step actually helps us create the repository and its metadata. So what you have to do is first remove anything that is present, comps.xml.gz directory that is present. Okay, so what are the comps.xml present here? Here is one, so we remove it. Apart from that, we have some comps directory in this repo data directory, perhaps repo data, yes. So here you have this comps.xml and other directories. So we just remove everything and move it to the root directory. So what we do is we run this command from inside this directory centos underscore disk. So what it does, it copies all the star.coms.xml.gz, like these directories, coms.xml.gz, and copies it to the root location. Now we have this directory, this file in fact over here. So once that is done, we extract the coms.xml. So this command extracts it. Now if we do a listing, we can see we have this one, so that gz disappears because it has been extracted. Now we can remove the entire repo data directory. So now if we do a listing, now repo data directory is no longer there. Now we create a blank directory called repo data again and copy the comps xml into it. That part is done. Now repo data directory contains just one file, comps.xml. Now we create this repo using this command, create repo. So these are the series of command you have to do. You can pause the video and copy these commands and then run one by one along with us. So here a new repository is getting created and metadata would be updated. This is the step where you can even add your custom packages. Like say before doing these steps, okay, before doing this comms.xml.gz copying and extracting, if you add any additional RPMs to the structure, you can do that. Say you have 2 RPMs which you want to be installed, okay, into this system. So what you can do is you can copy those and paste it inside this packages folder. Okay, you can just download those RPMs, paste it inside this packages folder, and then run these commands and create repo. So those RPMs would also be included into your directory. Okay, so this part is done. Now we have also done the create repo step, so that one is over as well. Now what we do is we do the final step, creating the ISO. So that command is also pretty simple. So here we copy this command, and it's quite a long command. Let me explain you a bit. So mkisofs, what it does, it creates a ISO file system, and this -o stands for output. So this is the output file. So this is the file which we want to create after this is done. So let me give a path to this file as well. I have a directory called storage in my system. In your case it could be something else, so you can use that path, like say you have space in /temp directory, you can create it in that temp directory. So in my case I have some space in /storage directory, so I am using this path to create the output file. Then -b, this is the bin file. -c, this is the boot.cat file. So these are all ingredients which are needed to create the ISO. So don't have to worry much about them, just you have to use this entire command. Okay, and one more thing, in order to allow this command to run perfectly, you have to be outside this entire directory. So where we are now, we are outside the CentOS 7 disk directory, because we are wanting to create the entire thing as an ISO image. We have done the customizations, we have done the kickstart file, so now we have to create the image. And here we have given the path that all the ingredients are inside this directory. Now if I press enter, it starts creating the ISO. And once the ISO gets created 100%, then we would visit the storage directory and find the ISO there. So let's wait for the creation to be completed. It's at 83% right now, so increasing, and we are done. So here we have an ISO file. Let's check it out at /storage, as we gave the output path to be /storage. So here we can see we have a cos7 custom.iso file, around 4 point some GBs in size. So here we have this ISO ready. So now we can copy this ISO outside to your host system if you are using a virtual box, or you can use a pen drive or use scp command to copy it. So now I have copied this ISO file into my directory. Now I will try to test this out using our virtual box. So now my file is actually copied already, the ISO file. So let's create a new system and use our recently created ISO to test out automated install. So let's name it automatic install. We have a Linux system, we have CentOS 7, so that can be Red Hat 7 64-bit. My system is 64-bit, so I use all the 64-bit ISOs. In case yours is a 32-bit system, you should use everything 32-bit ISO as well as the image you select here. So this one is done. Now continue. It's asking for the RAM setup. Let it be default 768 here. Hard disk, okay, let it be default. We are just going to test it. So 8 GB hard disk is enough. Format of hard disk, same, we'll leave it at default, everything at default. So this one is created. This is, we have a machine which is ready for installation, and we name it the automatic install. Okay, and this is the lab Linux system where we created the ISO. Now first thing we have to do, the optical drive is empty, the CD drive. So either if we are using VirtualBox, we have to uh, just put the ISO in this optical drive, and in case you are using a physical system, you have to write the ISO to a DVD and then insert the DVD into the system where you want to test. So here, choose disk image. So I'm choosing custom.iso because I have already copied it from there and put it here. So C7 custom.iso is the file which we created, and now if we start the system, we'll see the magic of automatic installation. So we would be able to install everything without questions being asked. Now here, this is the interesting part. Here you can see in the menu we have this new menu, install CentOS automatically hyphen platform. You remember we made this change and added an entry with this hyphen platform tag, and install CentOS automatically as the label in the ISO linux.cfg. Okay, so this one now appears as a menu in the DVD. Okay, so we choose that automatic installation menu, press enter. Now everything will occur automatically. As you can see, if we switch and enlarge the screen, everything is happening automatically here. The installation, the package fetching, everything, including the setting up of partitions and selecting of languages, setting up of network, everything would be done automatically. As you can see, you can even see the GUI installer coming up. So once that is in, here it is setting up the date and time. Here language, everything is set up, the root password is set, user creation is done, administrator Tom is created. Now it's doing the partitions. After the partitions are done, it would start doing the package installation, and everything would be done in a flash automatically. So that is how this entire thing works. The kickstart file is pure magic. Like you can set up your systems very fast once you labor a bit to create this kickstart file and this image. Next, you don't have to look back. You can just install everything in a flash because you are not doing anything manually anymore. So this is it, the kickstart installation and automated installation. People go a step further in order to convert this kickstart installation into a network install, which we can have a session separately. What they do, there's a simple just extension of this. They create a PXE server where they have Apache installed or FTP installed, and they store this entire image over there along with the kickstart file. And like in the kickstart file, we use the CD-ROM option. In that case, they don't use the CD-ROM option, they use the SURI option where they mention the HTTP or FTP URL where the kickstart file and all the other files are kept. So that is it, that is the difference. Otherwise everything is identical. So that is how PXE or network setup works. And here what we have done is we have created an automated ISO installer. So that is it. Now once all these packages are getting installed, once they are installed, the system would be rebooted and then it would be ready. So let's get back to our slides. We have seen how automated installation is working now, and we have discussed about what PXE installation is, like network installation with the kickstart file. So that is it. You should try the entire thing once and create the kickstart file, like we created right now in the video. You can run yourself along with the video, pause the video at times, and then create your own setup. Okay, so have a great day. Thanks.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides Linux administration online training mentored by industry experts, the course link of which is given in the description below. Now, let's continue with the session.